Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we're talking about AEW Dynamite, a new look, a debut. We're going to talk about it all. But first, let's talk about this. Mercedes Mone, somebody who it's claimed within the wrestling circles has already signed a deal with AEW, and she will probably be debuting next week on AEW's big business edition of Dynamite. Had some things to talk about with Kick Rock's Wrestling Podcast.
That's right.
Who's that?
Not us, I'll tell you that.
We've interviewed Mercedes Mone twice before. Back when she was Sasha Banks.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah, she was pretty great. She's awesome.
Both of them are available on Steven Larson's Going In Raw WWE and AEW podcast channel right now.
You can check it out right now.
Yeah.
But before you do that, maybe take a look at this Kick Rock's appearance, because she talks about leaving WWE. She said this, and these transcripts come to you via wrestlingnews.co. Said, something inside of me told me that I needed to go do this and stand up for myself. It was a very hard decision because wrestling in WWE has been my whole life. People don't know, it's been my whole life. It's the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my whole life, but it's the proudest. It's crazy because I would not be sitting here living the best version of my life and getting to be everything I've ever dreamt of and more. It makes me so excited because that moment changed my whole life for the better. I'm so thankful for that moment. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of Trinity, of just how strong we were. We'll pause here really quick before I get on with the rest of this quote, but as many wrestling fans will remember, the story goes that Sasha, Mercedes, and Naomi, Trinity, on the outside of WWE circuit, were the women's tag champions in WWE, and they wanted more for their division. They wanted the creative to step up a notch, and so they went in and said, either do this or we're not gonna stick around. Yeah. And then they were like, we're not gonna do that. God. No. Okay. All right. That's not appropriate.
And so Mercedes and Trinity said, all right, we're not sticking around then. They left.
They did pull the Darby and said, whoever wants to defend these titles, good luck to you.
Yeah.
And then they left. So the quote continues. Everybody wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to act like they were in the room. Everybody acted like they were in the room or worked there or backstage or knew what happened or knew what was said. All I know is that it's like we just did. All I know is that I handled it like a CEO, like the boss that I am, with my head held high. I can't say anything but amazing things to WWE. I'm so thankful to the career they gave me, the fans they gave me, the life they gave me, the dreams they gave me. So many dreams. I got to chase and live them all. I get to do so much more. I have a lot of unfinished business in wrestling in a lot of places. End quote. Larson, it seems like she's about to be an elite employee.
Seems like it. Seems that way. And more than anything else, it's good to hear that she is happy. You know, it is a pretty significant move to go to Vince McMahon and say, hey, change this or we're out. He doesn't change it. You walk out. And yeah, at the time, AEW was, obviously on the map, but still, you got a very high profile job in the largest wrestling promotion in the world. And it says something that you go in there and stand up to Vince, and if he's not willing to listen, you leave. And it's good that wrestlers now have that leverage. They may not have had years past where, if they're not happy working for the largest wrestling company in the world, in WWE, they can go other places and make really good money. And seemingly in Mercedes' case here, live a much happier life, not having to deal with working with WWE.
It'll be interesting to see how things play out in AEW. It's not without its risks.
That's definitely true.
Mercedes had absolutely built her name recognition up to the point where, and her star power up to where she could, not just survive, but thrive on the outside of WWE and, take part in, the Star Wars franchise, be seen at like fashion shows and do this, that, the other, go to New Japan and wrestle there. And now in AEW. AEW is not known for featuring their women's division all that prominently. You just got to hope that this is going to be the thing. Her arrival in AEW is going to be the thing that, much like we saw last night with a visual rebrand and these new signees that we've seen so far, Ospreay and Okada, gave a little kick in the pants to last night's Dynamite. And hopefully the promotion moving forward, it'd be nice to understand that Mercedes is going to be a centerpiece around which the rest of the women's division can establish a higher profile within the company. If Tony Khan reverts to old ways, she's going to be back in WWE. Unless she's really, on top of that, like, let's be honest, it's a completely new, regime there. And probably will become even less, less of what it was in the past if they actually make good on what we had heard, that they want to get rid of the Vince element that still might remain. So it should be a friendlier place for her to work in the future. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to know if the real story of what happened that day ever does come to light, if she ever feels comfortable talking openly about it, if there were people in the room that feel comfortable talking about it. We have a certain story that got out through the wrestling media. And it's the backstage stuff is interesting stuff.
Can be.
To understand that stuff. But, again, like I said, it's not like AEW is this, utopia for women's wrestling. A lot of work there needs to be done. And, ideally she is going to be the linchpin that can help get that done. But like I said, if Tony Khan goes back to his old ways, therein lies the risk aspect as opposed to the reward.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And there's been times where it seemed like, all right, AEW is finally going to give the women's division the focus, spotlight it needs, it deserves, only, as you mentioned, to revert to kind of previous ways. And when we mentioned this before, when Saraya signed, she came out and dropped a promo about wanting to be the catalyst to change the women's division in AEW. Not much really changed.
Didn't happen.
So, the fact that they're giving Mercedes her own kind of show centered around her debut, much like they did with CM Punk when he made his AEW debut at First Dance.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot here to be optimistic in terms of, yes, Mercedes, her arrival in AEW is gonna kickstart a renewed focus on the women's division, giving them more time and stories and matches during the course of their programming. But we've seen that potential promise before, only for it to not really go anywhere. So while there's some optimism, you got to be cautious about it, because history has dictated that seemingly Tony Khan will just revert to his previous booking patterns, rather than emphasizing the women's division. So I'm hopeful, but the proof's got to be put out there if he's really going to be dedicated to it.
And he hasn't, in other areas of booking, he has not been. One thing that he is not very good at is, I saw this referred to on Twitter as adversity booking, where things get in the way, injuries, political backstage machinations, I guess.
Basically all of 2023,
Right, exactly. And mainly, let's be honest, mainly injuries. A lot of people banged up. And he's not great at pivoting, but when he's got some, seeing what doesn't work, he's been able to implement some things that do work. The Continental Classic is a great example of that. Getting back to, the rankings haven't really been that much of a thing, to be honest with you. But
no, that's been terribly focused on either. No.
But using the Continental Classic as a way to sort of re-kickstart, and the ascent of Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe as champion, moving away from, because of injury, the MJF Adam Cole Devil stuff. Maybe that's been by necessity. But you look at this crop that they have now, and last night on Dynamite really did feel like a breath of fresh air, and a lot of that, or some of it anyway, centered around the debut of Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah. So to preface this bit of news here we have from Dave Meltzer, let's talk about Okada's debut. It would have been real easy for Okada to show up, and do his pose, hit a Rainmaker on Matt or Nick Jackson to make the save for Eddie Kingston, and just do kind of the greatest hits tour in AEW. And they didn't go that direction, which I really appreciate.
Same.
Okada's coming to AEW as a heel.
Yeah.
Which is going to give him an opportunity to really showcase a side of his personality that maybe we haven't seen a whole lot of, at least in a while, from New Japan.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see that. He and the Young Bucks apparently been friends for years, going back to the TNA days.
They apparently took him under their wing during the TNA days, which were pretty rough for Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, they were. And so you got to hope there's some chemistry there.
Yeah.
I mean, based on just what we saw last night, where, they're doing the double handshake, Okada's got that kind of
cheesy smile on his face,
and they do the pose all together on the stage.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
There's a lot to be optimistic about there, and I'm happy they didn't go with like, all right, well, we're just gonna bring the Rainmaker here. We're gonna follow everything he did in New Japan. They're trying something new and different, and that's promising. And it's gonna be. And immediately they set up potential matches with, whenever he returns, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and most immediately Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, dude, I loved it also. And when you initiate a complete and total rebrand of your characters, like the Young Bucks did recently with the Succession inspired EVPs thing, and complete with like basically Succession ripoff song, which is really well done. Like it definitely evokes that. That's a risk. And you got to pull that off. You got to get it right. And sometimes it takes a second to figure it out. With, for example, Judgment Day in WWE, they had a whole other leader. They had Edge as their guy, and it was horrible, and everybody seemed uncomfortable. And then you bring Finn Balor in, and then the regime change happens, and Triple H really sort of understands what Judgment Day could be, and now they're sort of the best version of themselves. Mm-hmm. And with the Young Bucks, I have been on record as saying nothing they've really ever done as characters has interested me all that much. Everyone, like Nick Jackson, I think is a really good. Obviously, they're both good in the ring. Some of their matches become a bit on the redundant side, but Nick Jackson, I've always felt, is a pretty strong performer. On the whole, especially when he's a bad guy. Yeah, Matt's a bit much, but this now understanding that this was always the plan for Okada to be the centerpiece of this new Elite, which is absolutely hilarious. And it's their version. And this is, I know, like immediately, I know the comments can be like, how dare you? But it's like, you've got this monster in Kazuchika Okada, who in the outside WWE world is like Roman, he's like the guy. Yeah. And they bring him in as the bad guy. That's I mean, it seems like it might have been a bit inspired by Hogan in the NWO. Yeah, maybe. You've got this with Hogan. They had this absolute mind. I'm not saying it's going to be the wrestling cultural sea change that Hogan was, which is, I know immediately people are going to be like, how dare you compare the two? But that's a hell of an inspiration right there. Yeah. You bring in, outside WWE's, internationally biggest, sort of most legendary, most winning guy who's done everything in New Japan, which is sort of like the blueprint for AEW, or inspired the creation of AEW. And you bring this guy in, and he aligns himself with the EVPs, with these, nasty corporate assholes. Yeah. And knowing Okada is not without a sense of humor. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
This could be so much fun. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. On top of that, I can't say enough about how simple and effective the Will Ospreay rollout has been. I'm pretty shocked. I thought that creatively they had been sort of dead in the water, and we'd get just sort of Okada coming out with a little interview segment, and then we get a match or something. Yeah. But no, that's not it. He came into a focal point story which is away from the main title story, by the way.
Yep.
And so that's just, added layers to the programming. And meanwhile, you've got Will Ospreay, and they're just sort of showcasing him in the way that we know best. Niece came over last night. Now it's gonna be Wednesdays. She was with me when she first saw Hook.
Yeah.
She looked at him and she said, "That guy's champion?" I said, "Well, he's a champion. It's sort of like a family title thing."
Yeah.
And then she sees Brian Cage. And she says, "That guy should kill him." And I'm like, "Yeah, but nobody cares about Brian Cage. Everybody loves Hook, so Hook's going to win." And she was pretty horrified at the thumbtack spot. She was on the edge of her seat for the finish of the Ospreay Fletcher match. Edge of her seat. And it was wildly fun, and it got her really into it. And immediately she understood after watching Raw 2 weeks ago. She said, so Raw's like for the dramatic stuff, and this is where they do crazy shit. And I'm like, kind of. They let the wrestlers go in AEW.
It's interesting watching a match like Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, us knowing their respective stories, their respective careers. We know who's going to win that match.
Yeah.
But your niece, for example, who doesn't know the backstories, doesn't know, the relatively how successful they've been, goes into that thinking, well, anybody could win that match.
The false finishers had her going. Yeah. It really did. And that says to me, if anybody just sort of happens to tune in towards the finish of Dynamite, if they don't know anything about these guys except like, I used to watch wrestling Stone Cold years, they might get sucked in by this too.
Exactly.
It is an interesting, wrestling social experiment. Yeah.
It is. It really is. It really is. Let's circle back to Okada here. So Meltzer on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio talked about the creative genesis of the pairing of Okada with Young Bucks, saying the following. These transcripts come to you from Wrestle Talk. Quote, "The Young Bucks segment with Okada, that has been known by the Young Bucks and Okada and Tony Khan for literally months. It was Tony Khan's idea to do this a long time ago, the show after Revolution. So if the plan always was to pair the Young Bucks with Okada, based on what we just saw last night, it's a pretty inspired idea. I
think it is. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Especially with that presentation. It's risky to bring Okada in and immediately have him turn on one of the most popular faces in Eddie Kingston the company has.
Yeah, it is, but it also makes the biggest statement possible.
It really does. Absolutely.
And I love that because it's one thing for them to trot out a guy and have Excalibur the way he does, just list off their accomplishments. Now, AEW fans generally know who Kazuchika Okada is. I'm sure most hardcore AEW fans know exactly who he is and has followed his career. Is there a shit in your office? Why are you making that face?
No, my dog, she's in here because we're having some work done in the house while I do the show, and she just had like a rawhide type deal. And she finished it, and when she finished it, it just released the bone itself released just the most unpleasant odor.
I remember that. It's been a while since Gypsy was never huge into those types of rawhides. She was never huge into that. But I remember
sticks, yeah.
Turbo was like Gypsy likes the small little rawhides. Oh wow. That seems
bad. It's pungent. Like she was sitting here, since we started the show, chewing this bone.
Yeah, it was fine.
Just as she got to the very end of it, it seemed like the concentrated odor of the entire thing was right at the very end, and it bites into it, and it's released, and it's pungent.
Are you getting these fresh from the mortuary or something, man? Are you grave digging for these bones, man? Because that doesn't sound normal. It doesn't sound normal.
It's not the usual brands we buy. But these are just especially pungent. Thankfully, it's the last one. I'm not going to get these particular kind again.
No grave robbing, Larson. Okay, we can't be doing that these days. It's 2024, Larson.
You can't be throwing out these accusations either. My goodness.
All right, well, let's move on.
You think it's for the lulls? But gosh darn it.
Yeah, no, believe me, buddy. Nobody's taking this guy seriously.
That's one of the most truthful things you've ever said.
Yeah. Before we get back to AEW Dynamite, the new look, the debuts, as Larson tries to figure out how to get rid of this smell, I will tell you about the
match in here or something.
Okay, I'll tell you about the Friendo Club setup, which includes bonus episodes, access to our question threads, and of course, access to the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. That's right, you can get in on the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge by going to patreon.com/Stephen Larson or youtube.com/Stephen Larson. On the YouTube, you click join. On the Patreon, you opt for the Friendo Club setup. It's kind of like the Stephen Larson fan club. You get a bunch of extra stuff in exchange for you giving us money. We've got our weekly Friendo Cast series, the latest of which dropped this past Monday, where we talk about no wrestling. No wrestling at all. Usually it's yes wrestling, but on Friendo Cast, no wrestling talk is allowed. It's a lot of fun. We talk about our past, our present, our future, but not wrestling. And then also you get access to the question threads and the Big Blue Predictions Challenge. So yeah, we're hoping that the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge is going to be the biggest one yet. Muted Mayday will be putting their brand new Big Blue Predictions Championship on the line. Will we get a cash in from Flannelly Dan and Larson? Find out.
Got to be within striking distance for that to happen.
Ooh boy, I like people in the thing are like, the cash in should have like a 15 point option.
If you build up a 15-point lead, come on. Or a lead that would require 15 points for someone to cash in. I don't know. I mean, you kind of deserve to win at that point.
I agree.
Or if you're 15 points down, I don't feel like you'd be able to pull a number out of a lunchbox and win. Like, you got to be better at predictions than that.
Unless it was a situation where there are two 15-point cards and both of them have to be pulled in order for you to get. But that's sort of stupid.
If the odds are super steep, then maybe.
Yeah.
Like if there's 100 numbers in there and only one's a 15.
Right. Yeah.
Then maybe. But even that,
Yeah. People are going crazy. No, it's fine the way it is. So anyways, patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Choose the Friendo Club setup or go to youtube.com/Stephen Larson. Click join. Also, while you're here, hit that subscribe button and the notify bell. Make sure you always get notified when there's new Going in Raw content, new question threads if you're a channel member, new posts on our community thread, whatever we got going on. If you want to get notified when we go live, if you want to be notified, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notify bell next to it. And while you're here, if you enjoy what you're seeing or if you enjoy what you're hearing, hit that thumbs up. We need the engagement. It makes YouTube very happy. And more importantly, Larson, it makes us happy.
It does. We like to be liked. We like our content to be liked. So yes, please hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notify bell. We're trying to get 201,102 subscribers. We've been stuck around the 200,700 for a while. Mm-hmm. We need something to kickstart the road to these last 400 or so subs. I feel like WrestleMania will probably be that catalyst.
Yeah, man. I hope so. Yeah.
But the better secure our chances of getting that number before or by WrestleMania. If you could, please hit that subscribe button right now.
There we go. I felt a wave in the force of all these subscribe buttons being hit, Larson. It might just be gas.
This video's not up yet.
Might just be gas. And you're right. We're taping this. We're not going live.
Yeah,
Anyways.
We're taping this right now. Anyways, let's talk about Dynamite. So we've mentioned a couple times. Haven't really gone into depth. The new look,
the
new vibe. I think it goes beyond aesthetics. Seemingly, maybe this episode's a bit of an outlier. But we've seen since Continental Classic where there's been so much emphasis and focus in AEW programming on what happens in the ring. And this edition of Dynamite, beyond the aesthetic changes, had more of a focus on advancing stories outside of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Talking promos, especially interviews. A lot of interviews. We had 3 pretty extended promo interview segments, which we haven't seen in AEW in quite a while.
Yeah,
probably pre-Continental Classic. And again, maybe the fact that there's so much talking in this episode is an outlier, and it's simply post-pay-per-view episode to kickstart the next round of stories for the upcoming pay-per-view cycle. It could be what it is. But first, anyways, that's one thing to talk about. Aesthetics. Yes, no, what do you like? What do you dislike? Pros, cons, so on and so forth. Give it to me.
I'm trying to think of something I don't like. I'll say this, and this is me sort of being greedy because I liked it. I liked it a lot. I loved the intro.
Yeah, the intro's really good.
And dude, honestly, like I'm not going to take credit for anything around here because we're just a couple of jokers. I do think that we're a genuine Joker product, not Brand X jokers.
We're not Brand X.
But I do think that us suggesting that they Attitude Era it up a little bit
That's what the opening package felt like.
That's what the opening package felt like. Patrick, yeah. No, I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm hyped now. Let's do this. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, you want to go wrestle yourself.
I know, exact. Steve wrestles Steve? Interesting.
Yeah.
I saw this.
Technology in AEW.
Dynamite technology. I was like, man, Dynagate. This gets me going. I was really happy with that. So I thought that was really cool. I love, so like people made a lot about like, oh, it's colorful like that first, the first era of AEW Dynamite. But the thing that I like about the colors is that they're like neon, it's like a set of highlighters. It's not like red, blue, green, purple, yellow. Yeah. It's like fuchsia and whatever that weird teal magenta shit is.
Yeah,
magenta. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No,
and so that makes it feel modern and alive. And it's like, I love those colors. And I thought that they are well applied and well designed. This is such a nitpick here, but the logo itself, I'm fine with because it has that sort of like 2003 Raw feel to it, where it's like, textured.
Yeah.
There's a little bit too much. It's called the kerning.
Yeah.
In between the letters is a little bit. I think they should connect a bit more, but that's like such a stupid design thing.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think it's great. I think that they could have even gone further with the sense of, because I did feel like Dynamite had a bit more of a sense of urgency. It had a feel of youth to it. It had a feel of celebration for these new pieces that they have.
Yeah.
And I loved all that. Getting to what did you think aesthetically speaking?
I don't disagree with anything you said. I'll add this. We had some discussions, I think it was yesterday, about how the crowd should be lit.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Because you had said something like, or I had said they should go black light, and you said, they should bring.
It was blue. The audience.
It was. Yeah,
did
it was
have
dark,
some blue light, but by and large, it was pretty dimly lit. The audience was.
Yeah.
And yes, they kind of have to do that, I think, to a degree because they're not full buildings they're wrestling in front of.
Yeah.
But also, I think if in terms of setting an atmosphere, and we made the analogy, if you go to a club or a bar and it's brightly lit,
don't want to go there.
Atmosphere's off, the vibe's off.
Don't want to dive.
So, if it's more dimly lit for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, what the association is, or why that is. When you go to a place that's more dimly lit, just the vibe's better.
It's got the vibe I think that AEW wants to have, which is, we're not as corporate, we're not as slick as WWE. And yeah, I'm looking at WrestleTix right now at the Gas South Arena in Duluth, Georgia for Dynamite and Rampage yesterday. The setup was for 3,300 and they sold 2,958. So they almost sold 3,000. And yeah, like in terms of the setup, like if you look at the actual thing, that's what it's set up for. And they obviously could have set this up for a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's if you put on a good product and you put on an exciting product, the attendance will follow. That's not an overnight thing.
No.
But no, I thought it looked great. When I said I think they could have gone a little further with the presentation, I felt like maybe some of the interview segments could have been a little bit more urgent. Mm-hmm. Like Renee's back there with Hook, and then Jericho trots in, and maybe it's just because it's Jericho. And I'll be honest with you, out of everything that happened last night, that was the one thing that I was like, no, Garcia. I was like, oh, new highs for Garcia, TNT title guy. Nah, all the way down here into Jericho Island territory. And then I saw somebody on Twitter mention Jericho's coming to the aid of Hook, who is having an issue with the Mogul Embassy. Mogul Embassy is led by Swerve. Jericho's going to be Swerve's first title defense after he wins the title. Which maybe you just get that out of the way.
Well, you don't have to do it to begin with.
No, you don't. Nor should
don't
you.
do that.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Okay, devil's advocate. Because I'm not in it. As soon as I saw Jericho approach Hook, I was like, oh, he's going to get involved with Jericho now.
He's a momentum vampire.
He is. He totally is. Jericho's their first champion. He's a big, to some, he's a big deal.
Name these some. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who would fall in that category, Steve.
Okay, fine. To Tony Khan, maybe he's still a big deal because he still has him on TV. Did you know
He's under contract, paying him a lot of money, so he might as well put him on TV.
You know, dude, that crowd is so confused with how to react to Jericho. They see him, they're like, no, man.
Like, well, Judas is on. That's part. It's like what you do at a wrestling show.
Judas.
You sing along to the song, but when he's actually in the ring, beyond the theme playing, there's like basically no reaction.
Well, did you hear the crowd when he showed up on the Tron to talk to Hook? It was like,
yeah.
It was like, what are you guys saying? All right, let us know what you actually mean. So, look, he's got the history behind him. I know I'm making a terrible case right here, and I immediately regret it. Getting a win over the first AEW champion isn't the worst thing in the world for a person. That's my point.
I understand that in a vacuum. Yes, that is a sound argument to make. However, that first AEW champion is Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is in such a rut right now.
Oh yeah.
You see him when he pops in backstage, and it's like,
yeah.
Well, like that's his energy level,
dude. He's lost the mojo, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. He has completely lost it.
That mojo's gone. He comes in and he does this. Hey, Hook. When I wrestled your dad, Taz, he dropped me in my head, and I didn't really respect you. But now, after you did it, it's like, oh my God, get to the point, man. Get to the point.
There's no urgency or energy behind anything he does. There's nothing.
He's shook. He is shook.
He is.
He is shook.
He really is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a lot of reasons, and maybe Jericho and Tony Khan's attitude is like, all right, we'll just keep going. And
what else can you do?
You take him off TV for 3 months. Like I said, Jericho's.
I thought he was supposed to be going away. Wasn't he supposed to be going on tour?
He was on tour and he came back. He's back now. That was a quick tour.
When did he leave?
Maybe it was a couple shows. I don't know. He was off TV for a while, up until Revolution.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was for like 2 or 3 weeks.
The specter of Jericho looms large.
It really does.
Yeah.
But like I've said this before, one of Jericho's greatest skills was knowing when to get out of there, when to disappear, when to go.
Bro, he lost that a long time
ago. He has
ago.
lost that.
He lost that.
And it's like, rather than realizing if I step away for a while and I come back with something interesting, I'll be relevant again within the world of AEW. He was like, I got to scratch and claw and stick around to remain relevant. Because if I'm not here, poof, I'm going to disappear into the background.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's shook. It seems like he's short on confidence almost right now. Because it seems like the Jericho of old would be like, all right, I'm stale. I got nothing to offer the show. Fozzy wants to go on tour for a couple of weeks. I'm going to take 2 months off.
Okay, so I'm looking at his cage, bitch.
Well, that's just matches.
Yeah, I know.
No, but like, it doesn't take into account appearances on TV, does it?
No, but this sort of proves that out anyways, because like, okay, on I'm looking for a gap is my point. I'm looking for any gap. November 18th, him and Kenny defeated the Young Bucks at Full Gear.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have another match again until World's End, where they did that weird Jericho, Darby, Sammy, and Sting thing.
Oh yeah.
So that was a gap of a month and a half.
But I think he was still on TV then.
And that's entirely possible. But then there is not much of a.
So I think the gap was those 2 weeks in the middle of February.
Ah, gotcha. February 7th and the 28th. Okay.
There'll be 3 weeks there. I think so. They must have done
that's not enough time. You ain't going on a 3-month tour.
I know.
Global, Fozzy,
I guess they
global.
did 2 weeks in Europe. I think.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Take some time. Leave Garcia alone.
What I'm saying. Take some time. Walk away.
Just walk away.
Sometimes you need to walk away to If you're struggling staying relevant in the world of AEW now, sticking around and just try to find something, I don't think it's going to work. You need to step away. Perspective.
dude, pro wrestling is such that like going away is sometimes the best thing you could do.
Absolutely.
Go away until like, double or nothing or all in.
I don't know, or full gear, whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Anyways.
World's End.
Revolution next year.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it.
Sure.
Swerve Strickland started things with promos, a long talky bit.
Let's go verbatim. I'm sorry I wrote this all out verbatim.
No, I don't care. You do whatever. I'm not doing the notes, so you do whatever you want to do.
Are you going to do the collision notes this weekend?
Can you remind me, like on Saturday at 5?
I'm just being real with you.
I'm just being real with you. Yeah, I know,
right.
but that'll like maybe remind me to do it.
Maybe, yeah. If you happen to watch it Saturday at 5, what if you wait and watch it Sunday? Is it going to pass your mind again?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question.
Should I schedule a text every hour on the hour to remind you?
That might work. Be honest with you. You know what? Maybe like Sunday at noon. Hit me up at Sunday at noon.
All right.
Maybe I'll do it then.
All right.
So anyways, yeah, don't never apologize about your notes. They're far and away better than anything I'll do. Anyways, let me ask you this about Swerve's promo.
Sure.
It was very babyface. Because
It
he even
was.
talks about, he basically comes out and he says, you know what? Womp womp, I lost. Samoa Joe won. Didn't mention Hangman, I don't think. But he says that maybe, just maybe, what happened at Revolution was karma for me being a bad guy. He says I've done some really terrible things in AEW. Maybe
he's really reflective about it at the moment. Yeah.
Is he too babyface?
I mean, he prefaced the whole thing by saying for the first time he felt like at Revolution the fans were really behind him and actually wanted him to win.
Yeah. And here's the thing: he's right. The fans are
right.
really behind him. So I kind of feel like it's not the worst thing in the world to lean into being a babyface. You just can't get boring.
Exactly.
You don't want to get boring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as he keeps the edge of the Swerve character, and stays true to the Swerve character, then yeah, babyface heel, it's fine as long as the character itself doesn't change.
So he sort of says, maybe he's got doubt. He says, maybe I'm just supposed to be a role player and be the guy who gets close but just can't quite grasp it. And I got to settle for this. He takes the mic from Shivani. He says, let me tell you something. He says something about Sunday felt really different. He talks about what you just said, how the crowd was really super behind him. He says, I actually heard people flew all the way from my home city, my home state of Washington, just to be in the presence of Swerve winning and becoming the AEW World Champion and making history. And for that, I won't let you down. Very babyface stuff. He says, nothing changes from this point on. Joe, whether you're still holding that AEW title or not, I'm coming for you. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I do know how I'm going to defeat you for the AEW title that I promise. Or he said, I do know now I'm going to defeat you for the AEW title that I promise. And then he get real emphatic, whose house? And the crowd responds as he does it a couple times.
Yeah.
That, of course, brings out Samoa Joseph.
Joe is there to provide a reality check.
True.
You're out there telling people, making these promises that you can't keep. He says, because here we are at Swerve's house, but unfortunately your house sits in my world. Instead of disappointing these people about how you're almost a champ, I thought I'd come out here and let them gaze upon an actual world champ. And then he holds up the belt and turns and poses to the crowd with the greatest smile on his face.
He is champion, and he's
Behold,
a good-looking one at that.
Your champion.
Yeah.
And he was very proud of the fact that he's champion, but also he was very happy with the fact that he could do that in front of Swerve to kind of rub Swerve's nose into poop.
And of course, that rubs Swerve the wrong way.
Yes.
He says, you're talking real spicy about a man you haven't been able to beat. You come out here in wrestling gear. You look like you're ready. Let's do this shit right now, Mitch. But that instead of a match brings out. Can you give me a brief interpretation of the Undisputed Kingdom's theme
I'm
song?
always trying to figure out where it goes. That wah wah wah. Because it's saying something. I'm trying to figure out what it is, and it pops up throughout the song. It's like the song itself. I'm like, right as I'm starting to kind of get into it, the theme's meh, but I hear the wah wah, and there I'm like, it takes me out of it. Like I'm in the groove. The riff's all right. Wah wah. What are they trying to say?
So that brings out
Chugs,
Dr. Evil, Dr. Chugs, and
Dr.
his
Claw,
wheelchair.
Dr. Claw. That's right.
Dr. Claw comes out, He says, who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby? He says, the only story we're talking... Dr. Evil wasn't in a wheelchair. He says, the only story we're talking about coming out of Revolution pay-per-view is the Undisputed Kingdom. Roderick Strong, new Intercontinental Champion. Bennett Taven, still the greatest Ring of Honor tag champs of all time. They didn't have a match there. He says, and then there's you two. He says, Joe, you're big and bad, but let's get real. The only reason you're world champ right now is because we let it happen. And Swerve, the hot new thing, right? 6 months from now, nobody's going to give a damn about you. The only thing you're going to swerve from is the main event scene because there's no way in hell you're winning the title. He says, but I'll tell you who is. Wardlow. Very soon, Wardlow is going to challenge for and win that. And when he does, he's going to bring it home to its rightful place.
So Swerve responds, that's funny. He says, how many times have you failed when given opportunities and been given more opportunities afterwards? Opportunity after opportunity. He says, matter of fact, I've really taken to you as your role of manager of this whole thing, this crew. It's really amusing to me. This whole Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget role is really funny to me. As a matter of fact, if you need new clients, I got Britt Baker's second phone number right now in my pocket.
Oh, dude, no way, man. That's rough. That's rough.
Oof. So Adam Cole says, oh, you think you're tough? How about this next week? The Kingdom, Taven and Bennett taking on Swerve and Joe. And Swerve, again, super babyface. Why wait till next week? I'm here. You're here. Bring your ass down here and make it happen right now. Mm-hmm. Cole's like, no. You don't make the rules. This match happens when we say, and that's next week. And then Shivani interrupts and says, oh, Tony Khan just told me match is happening now. So match, in fact, does happen now. And it was this is a match of two halves. First half, well, Joe's in. Like, he gets some offense in, but it's not like he's dominating Taven and Bennett.
Yeah.
After he hits Taven with the Uranagi, Swerve tags in. Swerve wrecks them.
Goes on a
by
run
himself.
big time, yeah.
He basically single-handedly defeats the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, right.
And then stares at Joe.
And you get that great contrast. I like this, and there are shades of, and I hate to say this because it's just the language that had been established, but it's like it's a bit of a WWE thing, you get this promo off, and then you get a bit of a can they coexist, moment here. Yep. But it also illustrates the difference between both, men.
Yeah, the dynamic between them going forward. So Swerve hits Taven with a JML driver to get the win. Swerve stares at Joe and laughs at him. Joe enters the ring as Wardlow comes down the ramp, rips his shirt off. And so Swerve's paying attention to Wardlow. Joe comes up behind Swerve and locks on the clutch. But he's staring at Wardlow while he's choking out Swerve. And then they announce that Joe versus Wardlow is happening next week at Big Business.
They're going to job out Wardlow clean?
No, there's going to be interference.
You think so, yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Well, there's MJF coming back. Swerve,
okay, let me ask you this then.
Sure.
Is Wardlow going to lose?
He's not walking out with that championship.
No. I'm not saying that.
I know what you're saying.
Are they going to have a finish to this match? Is it going to DQ?
Yes, they're going to have a finish.
Well, the match has to finish.
DQ is a finish.
I'm just saying, is Wardlow going to get pinned or tapped out? I don't see any.
Well,
of those
he's not going to get
happening.
pinned. He's not going to tap out. He might pass out.
You think you think he'd pass out? Yeah. I don't think any of those things. I think they're just going to DQ this shit.
I don't know. I mean, Joe's walking out champion.
Unless he eats like 2 shots from a Dynamite diamond ring.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is a possibility.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that MJF comes back.
But they might wait on that till Dynasty because a lot of people obviously are putting together that, MJF's old faction was Dynasty.
Yeah. But what better way to kickstart the whole thing by having MJF return? Cost Wardlow this match, and then you could have Wardlow versus MJF at Dynasty.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent sequence of shows they got coming up here.
Yeah, it is
some stuff happening, and I like that it's again you're setting stuff up to pay off at big shows, not the big show, at big shows. And that's just what they should be doing because it promotes this shit. It gives people a reason to buy tickets, I
know. So when you got a Brian Cage Hook video package detailing their history as members of Team Taz, FTW title, how it's been involved and all that. And then we have a Hook interview where Renee asks Hook how he's feeling about the match, and Jericho steps in and says, the Very first match I ever had is Lionheart Chris Jericho in this country was at the ECW arena against your father. He suplexed me on my head, and I've never forgotten that.
He's like, did you get suplex on your head 2 seconds ago? Because you're coming in with that kind of energy right now.
Yeah,
you're acting like you're in concussion protocol.
Yeah, I know. Says, but I feel like we had a connection because of it, which makes me feel like I have a connection to you, Hook.
Hey.
But I've never really respected you until you dumped me on my head. Now that I've been in the ring with you, maybe you are the real deal. So congrats on that.
Hook's like, I just want out of this right now. Hook is like at his graduation party for high school.
Yeah.
And one of his dad's friends comes up to him, and he's just a weirdo, kind of smells funny. And he's like, Hook, I got one word for you. Plastics.
Plastics. Yep. Yep.
After that, your kids watch Inspector Gadget. Have you kids ever watched Inspector Gadget?
No.
I don't even know.
I never really watched Inspector Gadget.
I did. You know what? Even back when I was a kid, it was weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, what part of Inspector Gadget was human? Right? Because, like, he had, like, a helicopter that came out of his head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, his arms.
Telescoping arms and shit. Yeah.
But then he had, like, a biological child? Is it like a RoboCop situation?
Formerly all human.
Yeah.
Now augmented. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. What part of him is human? Or is he all gadget?
Yeah. Who knows?
And, like, Penny maybe is, like, the child of his inventor.
Could be.
I don't know if they ever did an origin story on him.
I don't know either. Something to look up, Steve. So we got a recap of Hangman beating up the refs during his match at Revolution. Then the Young Bucks have a promo backstage, but it's essentially a promo to say we're going to make 2 huge announcements later on.
Yeah,
We're
right.
going to do it in the ring tonight. And that leads us to our FTW match, fought under FTW rules, Hook versus Brian Cage. You mentioned earlier, thumbtack spot.
Niece was not, yeah, she was like, are those real thumbtacks? I'm like, yeah, they really do some shit like that. I said, WWE, they did a street fight a couple of weeks ago. I said, they can do some stuff, but this is FTW rules.
WWE will do thumbtacks. Not often, but they've done thumbtacks in the past.
Oh, yeah, no, she was saying the general, like, she was like, oh, because, like, there was Hook, like, bashing the garbage can into his head. And I was like, yeah, a couple weeks ago, they did a street fight where you get kendo sticks and table spots and stuff like that. And they've done thumbtacks before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's just sort of feeling out which one's which. And it was kind of interesting because she said the other day, she was like, hey, I might be coming on Monday. She's like, but I think I kind of like Wednesdays. So, I don't know. Maybe, AEW wins again.
Maybe AEW wins again. So Hook gets the win here. The finish him T-bone Cage on the attacks, follows with some cross faces, locks on the Red Rum. Cage powers up to his feet and then backdrops Hook onto the tacks, but Hook doesn't let go of Red Rum. Cage passes out. Gates of Agony come to the ring to attack Hook. And then, yeah, I guess I'll make the save. Chris Jericho comes out.
Yeah. I appreciate here in your notes, he says Chris Jericho comes to the ring and you don't put runs to the ring because it's more of like a jog.
Yeah, he ambulates.
It was like, if Steve ran to the ring.
You have a lot more pep in your step than he did here. Way more.
Well, when I have my compression pants on.
Even without compression pants, man.
He came out there with his
You know how to walk with a sense of urgency.
I do, yeah. I've got an urgent gait. So after that, we had a tag team tournament video package, and then people who are going to be in that tournament, the Best Friends, had an interview, and Renee asked Orange, "What's next?" He says, "I don't know. Pretty much same thing I always do." See, he's got the intentional lazy man gimmick. As Jericho, that's just sort of what he is.
Jericho's kind of doing like a crisis of confidence story, but it's legitimate, seemingly.
I think it's a real thing. That ain't a story, man. That's a shoot. Yeah. Orange says, I don't know, pretty much same thing I always do, just whatever I can do to fill my backpack up with another title. And then Renee asks, are you guys going to enter the tournament to the Best Friends? And Chuck says, I'm still hurt, but Trent and Orange should enter and win the whole damn thing. And on Rampage, you got your first match. And then they do with the hands in and everything.
Yeah. Then we got Luchasaurus taking on Daddy Magic. Christian's on commentary.
Daddy Magic was sporting that DDP.
Yeah, he had the FPOS rib tape, didn't he?
The POS rib tape, yeah.
Not a surprise. Luchasaurus gets the win after a bunch of clotheslines to the back of Daddy Magic's head.
I mean, given that Daddy Magic ran this guy off like a fool the other day, I mean, I wasn't surprised necessarily, but like Luchasaurus looked like an asshole running up that ramp from Daddy Magic.
He did. This match wasn't very long though. He took care of Daddy Magic pretty quickly. So then he picks up Daddy Magic again, maybe for a choke slam. Daniel Garcia runs the ring to make the save. Christian then sends Nick Wayne into the ring. Garcia starts stomping on him, but then Luchasaurus hits him with the boot. Wayne then hits Garcia with Wayne's World. The Patriarchy as a whole walk up the ramp, and Christian's posing with that TNT title, and then Cope runs through the tunnel, blasts Luchasaurus with a chair, and throws him off the stage. He chokes out Nick Wayne. Mother Wayne tries to low blow him. He catches it. And then so he ends up chasing Christian through the crowd. They go through the backstage area until they get to the parking lot where Christian steals a car and then holds the TNT title out the window as he makes his escape. And then Cope turns towards camera and says, even though you just ran like a little bitch, I know you're going to see this. This has to end where it started. Toronto, March 20th for the TNT title and I Quit match. See you there, kid.
That's going to be a good one.
It will be.
That's going to be, Cope's going to do it there, right?
We're going to see the deal, man.
We're going to see the deal. He's going to win the title. I think it's a good move. I think it's a smart move. I do wish that they had gone full car chase with this, though.
Like French Connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Relatively early in this episode, this happens. Throughout the episode, they cut back.
I think that's a great idea.
To the French Connection-esque car chase.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
So I unfortunately missed this. I saw it happening, but then like one of my kids was talking and I didn't go back and rewatch it. Tell me about Kyle O'Reilly.
This was very down to earth, mild mannered Kyle O'Reilly here.
Just having come back from the woods with Von Wagner, perhaps.
Yeah. So Renee asked him, what's been like being away from the ring for almost 2 years. And he says, I hate admitting this, but for a while, I didn't think I would ever wrestle again. To be here now, to be cleared, to feel the love from the fans, to get a second chance to do the only thing I've ever been good at, a second chance to provide for my family. I'm just grateful. And Renee says, well, what's the deal between you and the Undisputed Kingdom? He says, I got nothing but love and respect for the Undisputed Kingdom, but you got to understand that I feel like I've fallen so far down the mountain, I don't know which path to take. Sometimes you get on the path with your friends and it's amazing, but it's the easier path. So now that I've got a second chance, I've just got to do it on my own.
All right. That's cool. That's good. Man, he seems like such a nice guy.
He does. He came across in this segment as just like the most pleasant individual.
Yeah, right. I mean, he is. He let me put my arm in his shoulder.
That's true. You've met him.
He didn't grab.
He didn't choke you out right then when you did that. So
right,
must be a
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, super pleasant. I love that he's back, man. I think that's so awesome for him.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what it'd be like to take the thing that you love the most, wrestling, and have that taken away from you.
Yeah. Yep.
After that, we had a video package for Sting's last bitch, and then we had the Young Bucks in their big segment. So Nick tells Shivani to scram. He says, matter of fact, Sting and Darby, you guys cheated. You invited all your friends from the retirement home. You also had your sons who happen to be 6'8", 305 pounds who beat our asses, and you guys cheated. Matt starts to calm him down. Nick continues like, Matthew brings up a good point. There's something you can't take away from us. Your EVPs. We ended Sting's career forever. And there's a tag tournament. Guess who's entering themselves in it? We're getting those tag titles back now. So
then Matt takes the mic. And this is a bit long, so I'll try to speed through this a little bit. So he talks about what's on today's agenda. There's 2 items to discuss, 2 huge announcements. It says, first, a little bit of housekeeping. This is going to be tough, he says, but since we're EVPs and we take our job serious, we got to make these tough decisions. We got to make an effort to show there's no favoritism or bias in the locker room. So, Hangman, you beat up 2 refs of the pay-per-view and you cross the line. You're suspended indefinitely from the Elite without pay.
So there is a bonus pay for being part of the Elite?
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe. He said, next, Kenny Omega, our dear friend. It's like you disappeared off the face of the earth or something. You haven't made any of your dates for no good reason. And he says, and so far as your association goes with the Elite, Ken, you're fired.
Ken is such a far away from Kenny. Those are like 2 completely different names.
I know.
Man.
So he says, listen, sorry, we love you guys. Sorry you had to find out live on TV because I know you just did. But listen, Light up the group chat if you want. Oh, item number 2. This one we're actually really excited about. I'm sure you're going to love it too. Before we get to that announcement, though, Eddie Kingston interrupts. He comes to the ring and goes, yeah, by the way, I'm wearing sweatpants and Tim's. And he flips them off. And he says, so, the hothead here, your brother. He said if I talk crap about you guys, I was going to be fined, right? And he takes a handful of cash and throws it at Nick. He says, you might as well just get it now, bitch. So Nick lunges at Eddie. Matt gets between them and is like, hey, this is unprofessional. Let's take this conversation offline. We could talk like gentlemen. Well, Eddie takes a swing at Nick. Elbows Matt. So Matt low blows Eddie. Nick falls with a super kick. They're setting up for an EVP trigger. Coin drops.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okada's
Where's my
theme
coin?
hits.
Where's my coin? Here we go.
Building goes crazy. Close enough. So Okada makes his way to the ring. He's got a suit on, so you know something's up.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second, though. Here's the thing. My suggestion was, and I'm telling you, these people listen. My suggestion was no sweatpants. No sweatpants and merch shirt for his debut. Come out in a suit. And he did that.
Well, you could try to take credit for that, I suppose. So Eddie Okada comes to the ring, checks on Eddie. They're standing side by side opposite the Young Bucks. So Eddie starts to make a move towards the Young Bucks. Okada grabs Eddie, bang, Rainmaker.
Yeah.
And so Nick grabs the mic and says, here's our other announcement we were about to make. The newest member of the Elite, Kazuchika Okada. So Okada does a double handshake with the Young Bucks. Does the discount double check motion to Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go up the ramp and pose together. It was great.
So, okay, hold on a second, though.
What?
Okada becoming Continental Crown guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't that also make him strong champion?
It does.
For a promotion he just said that he's probably not coming back to.
You got that right. Intrigue, Steve.
I guess so. Yeah, no, I thought it was really, really awesome. I thought it was really well done. I love the smile from Okada because you know he's going to do some funny shit. You know they're
he's going to have fun.
He's going to have fun with this, but yet he's still going to be like an absolute world beater in the ring.
Yep.
Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be really good.
Really, really good.
Yeah, I'm excited for all this.
Yeah, me too.
I did my only criticism here, maybe no Rainmaker, because the setup for the Rainmaker is so awkward sometimes.
It can be.
Like Eddie just stood there, oh, while he's trying to figure out where the hand is. Let me get your wrist. Where's your wrist? Here's your wrist.
I know it was a little slow hitting that Rainmaker, but otherwise.
But you know what? Whatever. It's the Rainmaker. It's devastating. It is one of the most absurd things because, you know, New Japan, known for strong style, all that kind of stuff. And the Rainmaker is like the world beater. Then I know he had to use it several times on people, but
yeah.
But it is a really silly move.
Yeah. Then we got an Ospreay Takesh to recap from Revolution. Then we got an awesome match between Chris Statlander and Riho. God. This was great.
This was awesome, yeah.
And it was essentially Statlander trying to use her power advantage and Riho finding ways to reverse Statlander's power moves.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that was the story throughout, led to the finish. So Statlander hits like a wheelbarrow suplex, follows with the German suplex, looks for another. Riho counters that with the roll-up to get the win. This was after Stokely had put some chain in the ring for Statlander to use. And Stat picks it up, looks at it. Nah, throws it to the floor. The commentary is really pushing that distraction by itself essentially cost Statlander the match. Although Taz was like, should have used the chain, you would have won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But fantastic bout. This was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was awesome, and a little bit of discord there. You know, Stokely was like, "Oh, I didn't like the end." You know, oh, you should have used that chain.
Yeah,
not happy with it. So, interesting situation where he was the one courting her to become her manager, but she's not doing things his way, and so he's going to end up maybe turning on her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to make Statlander go bad guy, who knows?
Yeah, because Stat was pretty shocked, taken aback that she lost that match.
Yeah, right. Yeah. After that, we had Tony Storm interview. Mariah May is still dressed up in Tony's old gimmick. Pops out behind Mariah and scares Renee. Says, "Fooled you again, Renee. Just like we fooled that Deonna Purrazzo into thinking she had a hope in hell at winning my title. Now, Renee, tell me, what season is it?" Renee says it's almost spring. Tony says, so you only look smart. It's award season, Paquette. And as such, this Saturday on Collision, I'll be presenting the first ever Tony Award. And that's Tony with an I, so we don't get sued. That reminds me. Luther, And Luther hands her a shirt. She shows it to Mariah, says, look, your first ever shirt. The same as my shirt. Would you look at that? Available at AEWshop.com, and I'll be getting a cut. Until then, chin up, tits up, and watch for the... And then Mariah exclaims, shoo! Because the shirt is Mariah dressed in the Tony Storm garb.
Yeah. It was pretty good. It was really good.
Yeah.
Then we got a Stokely and Willow interview. So Renee asked Stokely about what went wrong during Statlander's match, and Stokely laughs, says, what went wrong? Statlander wanted to do things her way. Let me just say that she is one of the best female competitors here in AEW. She's my favorite. And Renee shoots the look over to Willow, and Willow's like, she's not happy to hear Stokely say that Statlander's his favorite. He continues, I just wish that she would accept the help from the ones who love her the most. So Renee says, well, next week, Willow's facing Riho. So Willow says, oh, that's good. Stokely, I know that what you're trying to do out there, but next week, we have to do things my way. Now, Riho, I know I can beat Riho. I want to be champ myself. At Revolution, we beat Sky and Julia. So, Julia, I'm coming for that TBS title. Just have to get through Riho first.
After that, we had a Darby Allin interview. This was
I really
good.
liked Darby's bit. I thought this was great because
He was very emotional.
He was very emotional, and it felt genuine and it felt earnest.
It did.
It was
It absolutely
really good.
did. Yeah. Yeah. So he mentions, 5 years ago, because they're Atlanta, he says 5 years ago I was homeless about 40 minutes away from here in downtown Atlanta. He says, and then this Sunday I was main eventing one of AEW's best pay-per-views of all time in Sting's retirement match. He says, I'm lacerated, I'm beat up, I'm tired. He says, what's next for Darby Allin? Well, next week at Big Business, I've got a match against Jay White. And then on March 27th, I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. He says, I'm talking from the heart here. There's no guarantee I'm going to come back alive from Mount Everest. And if you guys ever watch videos of what it's like to climb Mount Everest, it's not just climbing, it's scary. Oh my God, there's like giant gaps on the path that just lead to endless nothing.
Yeah.
And you got to traverse these tiny little bridges that you have to set up yourself.
If you thought this climbing the tallest mountain in the world was tricky enough, doesn't take into account weather, elevation, these chasms that if you fall into,
nobody will ever find you again.
Nobody will ever find you again.
There's like dead bodies like
the
lining the path.
Yeah.
That they can't get to because it's so terrible. You can't Tony Khan just can't get on a helicopter and go up and get Darby.
No.
This is terrifying.
It is terrifying. So
Anyways.
Darby says, I just want to take this time to thank the fans, to thank AEW for giving me this dream. If next week is my last ever match, I do what I always do, and that's fighting for my life. He says, as for this tag title, everybody keeps asking me, why don't you just keep defending it and find a new partner? But let's be serious here. You can't replace Sting. So next team that wins this, congratulations. So he tosses the tag title on the mat and starts to leave. And then Jay White comes out with the guns. And Jay White spends about 5 minutes essentially saying, what are you going to do now, Darby? The Sting's gone.
Yeah. I like Jay White a lot, but good Lord, somebody needs to rein in these promos because they are
long.
Way too long.
What are you going to do now? Hey, people understand if you don't want to have this match next week against me, because if you do, I'm going to do far worse to you than what you did to yourself jumping off that ladder. So come hang out with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. We have a nickname for you, Darby Scissor Hands. You can come backstage and you can scissor Daddy Ass.
Yeah.
Scissor with Daddy Ass. And so Darby says, are you done, Jay? And this is the best thing Jay did this whole thing. He just goes, yes, I am.
Yeah. So Darby says, I'm going to get to the point. You main evented Tokyo Dome twice, won titles all around the world. Then you came here and you did what? Played with cardboard cutouts? I don't believe the hype. We're going to have this fight next week. And if you're as good as you think you are, you can come alone. And then Darby whispers something in Jay's ear that gets him kind of mad. Jay turns and looks behind him. When he turns back, Darby sticks his bat under Jay's chin. And then Darby tells Jay he'll see him at Big Business.
Yeah, whatever Darby whispered to Jay got him shook.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
I pooped in your bag.
Maybe.
Oh, you did what?
Maybe. Then we got a Julia Hart promo. She says, worst feeling in the world isn't loneliness, but is to be forgotten. And Willow, it seems you've forgotten who I am. I'm the princess of the Black Throne, the keeper of secrets, TBS champ. On Rampage, I'm issuing an open house to anyone who needs reminding of who the TBS champion is.
Then we go to commercial and we come back, and she's joined with the 3 other members of the House of Black. Buddy talks some shit to Mark Briscoe. Brody adds a little bit. And then Malachi says, "This pain, Mark, that you feel inside your chest, will make sure that it's surpassed by the physical, by us. The merciful House of Black will inflict upon you." And then Brody says, "Just let us know if we need to dig 1 grave or 3. And then we have a Mark Briscoe interview. And he responds, because Renee asked for his response. "I'm supposed to be scared now. You see, I walked through fire, walked through the flame. I done danced with the devil. I fear no man, fear no evil. So let's do it on Collision. Atlanta street fight, I'll take you on myself. I don't need nobody." And then you could sort of like feel Malachi being like, "Oh, wait, this is a multi-man? I want singles." But then Jay Lethal steps in and ensures that it is not, in fact, a singles. And he says, "I think it's about time that I man up and come help my friend for over 20 years. Plus, I freaking love you, man. I got your back." Mark, "Don't go bringing Jeff Jarrett out there, you hear me?" And Lethal's like, "Look, hear me out. We're about to go to war together. We're about to step on that battlefield together. It's an Atlanta street fight. What better person to have our side than a low-down, grimy bastard like Jeff Jarrett?" And I'm like, yeah, man, Jeff Jarrett in a street fight against House of Black. It'll be awesome.
A sure victory. 100 Jeff Jarretts.
100 Jeff Jarretts. He says, "That's what's called fighting fire with fire. And besides, you don't have to trust him. Trust me." Oh, I love it, man. Buddy better eat this pin. I want to see House of Black lose to Jeff Jarrett crew.
Oh, hell yeah.
One of the best things that happened 2 years ago was that Briscoe chicken farm bit with the Jarrett and stuff. Yeah, that was awesome. That
was so good. And then we had our main event, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. Go out of your way to watch this match.
Oh, my
Fantastic.
God.
Fantastic. They were beating the hell out of each other. I don't know how Ospreay could have the match he had on Sunday and show up Wednesday with a giant bruise on his hip from that brainbuster spot on the turnbuckle, and then come out and have a match like this.
Dude, the Poison Rana from the top. Oh, my God. Nice here was like, how the hell they do this?
I know.
I'm like, I don't know. I've been watching this shit for decades now. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, still know how they do it, how they pull it off. I mean, we could list off the moves, but just go out of your way to watch it. It's spectacular.
It is phenomenal.
Down towards the finish. Steve, I know you love this part when Ospreay is hitting some quad kicks. Fletcher gets back on his feet and gets right in Ospreay's face, hits him forearm. Ospreay hits him with a crescent kick. They both try power bombs, escape. Ospreay hits the Spanish Fly, gets a 2, hits an Os Cutter, gets a 2, sets up for the hidden blade, and Fletcher's like, "Just hit it. Come on. Hit me with it." Ospreay obliges, hits him with the hidden blade to get the win. Afterwards, they have a nice moment because, the commentary is going on and on about how they're like best friends.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So Ospreay hugs Fletcher, shakes his hand, trying to help him up, and then Bryan Danielson's music hits.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to the ring, and he and Ospreay and Danielson kind of circle each other a little bit and have a stare down to close the show. So
I'm gonna do my thing.
Seems like that's we got already. Here we are, like what, a month plus away from Dynasty. We're gonna get Okada, Eddie. We're gonna get Danielson, Ospreay. We're probably gonna get Joe Swerve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your 3 top matches for that card already set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember we went to the Dynamite after Revolution last year?
Sacramento Dynamite.
And nothing happened.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. And now everything happens. Come on.
They're
Why
setting
we get
stuff
to
up
Sacramento? They owe us one, man.
They do.
They
They
owe
should
us
bring a
one.
pay-per-view to Golden One Center.
Yeah, it'd be good. I'd like that.
A make good on that kind of
Make
boring
good. That's what it is.
Dynamite.
Yeah. And I owe you. Anyways.
And I owe you.
And I owe you.
You want to answer some questions?
Would you like to answer some questions?
So hold on a second. I don't know if you saw this because Alex Foster has a question about it. But let me see who posted this on Twitter. I don't know if you watched the video, but there's a clip apparently in, is it My Rise or My Career?
Yeah.
Where there's a reference to someone getting the last piece of prime rib at catering.
So what?
Alex Foster put that on Twitter.
They can watch the show. They can take our ideas, but we won't get invited to the events. Bro, I was on stream the other night playing this 2K business, right? And by the way, I got this like separate channel that like I'm going to start advertising. It's just for like my video game bullshit. Like it's lazily edited. I don't want to edit shit right now.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want a place to put this and maybe I can get it monetized. And so I did the first like 2 videos of My Rise. And I think right now they're sitting at like, 100 views each because I have not advertised this thing at all.
Yeah.
And the SEO is, not working out for me right now. But I was doing this stream and Macho T, shout out to Macho T, showed up in the stream, was like, "What's up?" Steve was like, "Bro, can you ask somebody Why we're not there? Why we weren't invited? When our draft video did like 40K, did like 40
did really
bands,
well.
Larson.
Yeah, it
did like
40
4
bands,
racks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it'd be 4 bands. Wait, 4 bands and 40 racks, right? Or is the other way around?
Bro, a rack is 10G.
Okay, sorry. So 4 racks.
Right. A band is a grand.
Yeah.
You got to remember the band is a grand.
I know. I get confused. I'm sorry.
A rack is 10 of those. So it's sitting at 4 or 5 racks. And I was like, Macho T, give me the tea. Why are we not there? And he was like, I'll have to ask somebody. I said, don't do that. You're going to get yourself in trouble. But he was like, it's weird who shows up. There's people who don't even do 2K videos showing up at the 2K events.
How does that work?
Because we're blacklisted. What is up? What is up?
You put your arm on wrestler's shoulders, man. What do you expect?
Bro, don't touch people. You can't touch the wrestlers.
Sorry, my dog's barking.
She's upset too.
Yeah, she's angry about this. She sees an injustice happening.
How long has it been? It was what, 2018?
Something like that.
I think it was 2018. 6 years ago. 6 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
6 years ago.
What she's doing right now is basically no more important than what I'm saying right now. Because I honestly don't give a shit. But every year when the 2K thing releases, I always pitch a fit.
I know.
Bro, it's been 6 years.
I know, it's been a while. But whatever.
They're all in a different company now. I won't touch anybody, I promise. Why didn't Tony Pizza Guy say, Steve, take your fucking arm off his shoulder? He was the one filming. I blame him.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like common sense, but, if you want to pass the buck
Who
to
are you
Tony
talking
Pizza
to?
Guy.
Common sense.
Sorry.
This is what happens when I don't bring you along.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's fun to joke about, but whatever. Like, it is odd though that that's a very specific reference that we have on the show, and I don't know if he picked that up from someplace else.
I think, I don't know. I can't, in all honesty, claim credit for anything. At the same time, like, let's not be stupid about this. Our reach is like one of the largest in this particular sphere, the two idiots on podcast sphere.
Yeah.
In pro wrestling, two idiots talking about pro wrestling. We've got one of the large, there's going to be people who pick shit up.
We're the top idiots, aren't we? Or one of the top idiots.
I think we're kind of the top idiots.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple other idiots out there, but like we're pretty close to the top.
Yeah.
Hold on. Time to check our chartable ranking.
There you go. While you do that, I'll ask another question. Luis here says, why hasn't AEW utilized guys like Brian Cage and Penta as main event caliber guys? They have all the attributes. Do you think they'll re-sign with AEW? Here's the thing. Penta has all the attributes. He's a great wrestler. Tons of charisma. I know he doesn't get many opportunities to talk, but when he does, there's passion behind it. Mm-hmm. Brian Cage is a fantastic wrestler. I don't know who his character is.
Cosplayer.
Yeah, that's kind of it. And cosplayer's probably not going to be a main eventer.
Look, man, I think Brian Cage, he's got the body. He's got the pro wrestling ability because that guy can go. He's incredibly
he's a really good wrestler. He's a fantastic wrestler.
Incredibly creative in the ring. The presentation, dude, I just don't know about this. I'm being honest because I like Brian Cage.
Yeah.
But the Swolverine stuff, the comic book references, if that's his bag, that's cool for him.
Yeah, totally.
I just don't know that it's all that compelling to make me care about the guy's character. And on top of that, like, I kind of feel like maybe if AEW were to bring in Melissa Santos, if he were to go solo and you brought in Melissa Santos and maybe we can get a little bit of their chemistry, just as a person, I don't know much that he has presented that makes me really care about the character of Brian Cage.
Exactly.
And hey, maybe it's he hasn't been given the opportunity and maybe that, he needs the opportunity. I don't know. But really good solo wrestlers, they got a lot of them right now. You saw when a dude like Santana tried to break free of the tag team, that was his bread and butter. He ain't in the company now. You know what I mean? Like, that's not easy to do if you don't have something that guys can really, that an audience can grab onto.
On a roster where basically everybody is a phenomenal in-ring wrestler, you need to separate yourself in other ways.
Yeah.
To forge a bond with your audience.
Yeah.
And you look at the wrestlers at the top of AEW, they've all done that.
Yeah.
And you see wrestlers who are not. I'm not to say none of them have done it, but you have wrestlers like Brian Cage where, like I said, I have no idea who his character is. Yeah. He's been stuck as henchman for the last 4 years, basically.
Hard to get out of that, too.
Yeah. So it's more of from the character perspective with Brian Cage. If there's something that he could figure out, that he can find interesting, compelling character along with his immense wrestling skills in ring, then maybe. But until that happens,
he's such a fun wrestler that it seemingly is never really injured. You know what I mean? Like he's always around. So it seems like it's a character thing. I'm looking at the Chartable podcast rankings right now because I don't know if there's like a comparable YouTube one. But in terms of like two idiots sitting here talking wrestling, probably right now the gold standard of idiots sitting around talking pro wrestling is the guy who filmed me putting my arm on Kyle O'Reilly's shoulder. Deadlock. Shout out Deadlock. Love them guys so much. Great. They're so fucking good. Every time I see a clip of them on Twitter, I got to stop and watch it. Another idiot sitting there talking about wrestling, Solid Monster. Love that dude. Love that guy.
Monster's great. Yep.
Right now on Chartable, they're the two podcasts ahead of us.
All right.
Otherwise, in terms of like the category of idiots sitting around talking about wrestling, we're number 3.
Not a bad position to be in.
Pretty good position to be in. And I feel like people might hear what we say sometimes about, prime rib and stuff like that.
The last piece of prime rib at catering. Yeah.
But I mean, check out, this is a good list of names that we're above right now in terms of idiots sitting around talking about wrestling. What Culture? Whatever this is, Heel Shit Podcast. I don't know what that is.
Never heard of it.
The Lapsed Fan. I think I've heard of them before.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that show.
Mr. Santy Zap, his Wrestling is Cool podcast. He's got a solid YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've heard of
signs of him all the time. Yeah. Sometimes for Wrestle Juice, I'll just straight up rip off some of his ideas.
There you go.
I'll do them my own way. But a great resource to rip off from for sure because he does good shit. Post Wrestling. Though I'll sort of single those guys out. They're not idiots sitting around talking about wrestling.
They're really, really good.
They're smart dudes.
They're really smart.
They're actual smart dudes.
Really good. Yeah, they're really.
But they also sit around talking about wrestling.
Yes.
Let's see here. I still don't know who these people are. The Wrestling News from Arcadian Vanguard.
All right.
I can't comment on if they're idiots or not. Look, and then boom, all the way down here, Fightful. Sean Ross Sapp. Not going to call him an idiot.
No.
He's really good at what he does.
He is the best.
He's the best. I was trying to find a reason to call him an idiot, but I can't. That dude, he's got too many connections. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I'm not even going to... Who the fuck? Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
All right, then.
I'll stop that. I'm going to get us in trouble, Larson.
You are, apparently. Complaining about not going to video game events when we really don't care, Steve. We joke about it.
Here's the thing. We can't go to the Royal Rumble. No, we can't go to the Royal Rumble.
Cover it.
We got to cover it. It's our job. We lose money if we go to the Royal Rumble.
I know.
That
was the whole reason that I didn't go with you to the PC. It was like,
I know we were going to lose money.
Days off
that was stupid,
content.
though. That we should have, though. We should have just been like, whatever. We'll
By the time we just made the business decision. I can't. One of us has to stay and keep doing shows. So it
was a bad move on our part.
Well, sometimes you find out your mistakes after they happen,
Yeah. But like, dude, isn't their headquarters still just like 90 minutes away?
I'd imagine.
Dude, bring us out special. You
want the red carpet treatment.
Bring out like one wrestler. Bring out like Baron Corbin to hang out with Steven Larson for a day at 2K. Bro, we'll produce a whole 2 weeks of content for you guys. Free gratis. We'll drive on our gas money. Let us hang out with Baron Corbin for a day, play your dumb video game, and we'll promote it to the fucking moon.
You're not sweetening the pot there when you say dumb video game.
I'm not helping things.
No, you're not. You're pitching this harebrained idea because they have to fly.
Those
Baron
idiots
Corbin's
at
not going to pay for his cross-country
at Parts Fun Known, they get to do their cool My GM sponsored shit. I'm not even asking for a sponsorship. Just let me come down, play your dumbass game.
And you say dumbass game, it's not going to happen if you say that.
That's right.
Come on.
I'm not.
You complain. Oh, what an injustice this is. We're not invited to
the goddamn thing. I didn't even get a key. I bought the damn thing. The 40 years of stupid WrestleMania shit.
I know.
I bought that shit.
You
Thank
complain
God
all
you-
the time about how off-put you are that we're not invited, and then you talk about the game and you call it a dumbass game. What do you think is going to happen?
Dude, I'm just saying, bring us out there. Let us hang out with Baron Corbin for a day. We'll play the video game. He could be special guest referee.
So you think they're going to fly Baron Corbin cross-country on their dime, probably first class.
You think they give him first class?
Yeah. From Orlando.
I think it's like we didn't get
San Francisco.
We didn't get first class when they flew us out.
Yeah, because we're a couple idiots on a podcast, man.
Oh yeah.
So then they have to get a car to drive him from San Francisco to their office.
Yeah.
I know it isn't far, but it's an expense.
It's not very far.
But then they have to get food.
Yeah, right.
At least for Baron.
Yeah.
We could be like, hey, don't worry about us. We'll find a Popeyes.
Don't say that. Oh, well, I'd be like, hey, can you DoorDash us some Popeyes?
Sure. All right, fine.
Send one of your 2K peons to go get some Popeyes.
They'll cater for Baron.
Yeah.
Or maybe Baron will cater. He's quite a grill expert, seemingly.
Here's my thing. Instead of taking our ideas, sit us down. We'll give you a bunch. We won't ask to get paid. Just let us play your dumbass game with Baron Corbin, one of the Wolf Dogs. Let us play this damn thing. All right? We'll
the
make
dichotomy
content
of this
for
conversation is something else. Oh, woe is Steve that we don't get to go to this thing.
Yeah.
And then you make your pitch and refer to it with a harebrained idea about flying one wrestler across the country at
It's
considerable
just
expense.
Baron Corbin.
And then called the game the dumbass game.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
You're not a serious person, Steve.
I don't know. I hope nobody thinks I'm a serious person. Every one of those shows that I named, by the way, we love them to death. Mm-hmm. We love them to death. It's fun to talk shit.
It's great that so many people in our sphere, that are super awesome are doing really well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's
always
great to see and great to hear. There's a lot of really amazing content creators who are doing the wrestling stuff,
and they're playing that dumbass game a lot better, and they're producing some awesome content. Macho T does great stuff, by the way.
Yeah, Macho T's awesome.
He does awesome stuff. Love the Deadlock guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Monster's great. We got to meet him at Monster a few years back, and it's super cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's
awesome. Sean's awesome.
Sean's great. Yeah, I like people who walk up to us. And Monster and Sean walked up to us. We didn't have to go to them. They came to us. I hate breaking ice.
See, here's the thing. We have our rapport here on the show, and it seems like, oh, these guys, these idiots, Steve and Larson, they can go up and talk to anybody. No, I don't like walking up to people and saying, hi, how's it going? I
literally
anxiety.
did
It's
that,
tough.
and it got me banned from 2K.
So we can't
I went
allow
up to
Steve
Undisputed
to do it.
Era, and it got me banned from 2K.
So we should not allow Steve to be put in those social situations.
I shouldn't be breaking ice with anybody.
No. So I guess that's why you need me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wait
a
I'm
second.
terrible at it.
Yeah, but we're not good at that. We don't do. It's not like we do that.
But I'm not going to
together.
put my arm on somebody's shoulder. I'm not going to do that.
We don't do that shit together, though. They're like, "Who wants to come talk to AJ Styles?" And then we're like, "Okay, come on, we got to do this. We're grown adults."
Yeah.
And that went all right.
It went fine. We talked to Sasha that same day.
AJ was awesome. Sasha was awesome.
Those are the two best interviews we've probably done.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Anyways, want to read some questions?
We did a couple already, but all right. Carson Thrasher says, do you think Raw and SmackDown should have different stage setups rather than the giant screen? It'd be nice, but it's not essential.
Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, give SmackDown the Raw gate like they did that one time.
Yeah, I know.
That was awesome.
That little short period of time pre-pandemic on SmackDown, yeah.
Let's see here. This is a good one. One Chad to rule them all. I'm looking for sort of like new names that we haven't read before. He says, cake or pie?
So I feel like the cakes I probably like more than any pie, but unless those cakes aren't there, it's pie just about every time. If that makes sense. Like if there's red velvet cake, oh, hell yeah.
If somebody presented to me...
Or if there's just a bunch of cupcakes, but then there's pie, give me the pie.
If somebody presented to me the perfect piece of German chocolate cake, which I think is like my S-tier cake.
It's good cake.
And they said, here's an S-tier apple pie. probably go with the apple pie.
It's got to be molten hot, though. If it's cold, I'll probably take the cake.
Well, that's for you. I prefer not to burn the inside of my mouth.
It's got to be on the verge of burning your mouth. It tastes so much better when it's hot, Steve. It
for
really
you,
does.
yes. I'm not into that, buddy. Okay, I'm bringing you the Steve experience right now. Good thing apple pie that's been out of
you could kick up that experience by making it molten hot. All right.
Look, man, I need this thing out of the oven for like 30 minutes, and then it's perfect.
You need it out of the oven for like 2 seconds, and then it's perfect. I'm telling you.
You're like scooping it out of the oven.
Yeah, if I could.
I can't deal with the heat. Heat doesn't increase the flavor, man.
It does.
It does.
You're wrong.
There's
You're
no
1000%
science
wrong.
behind
It
that.
activates something in there.
Bro, you're gonna burn yourself.
Wrong. Wait, hold on a second. You're telling me? I'm trying to think of something. Hey, how about this? This might be not a great one-to-one analogy, but maybe, because this is a leftover situation. You grill up some steaks on your grill one night. You have some leftover. You have some the next day. Is it better out of the fridge cold or warm?
That is not only not a one-to-one analogy. That's not even apples and oranges. That's apples and I don't know, Cool Whip. That's so completely what?
I'm on the spot here. It's the best I can come up with.
Number one, I'll be honest with you. Steak is a one and done situation. I don't do leftover steak. Nah.
So if you have leftover steak, you throw it away?
Well, I'm not leaving steak. I'm not, unless I'm participating in some ridiculous challenge of we got this 84-ounce steak. In which case, yeah, I'll probably be like, look, can you package some for my dog? And then I'm leaving the rest of it. Yeah, I don't do leftover steak.
What do you do leftovers of? Are you not a huge leftover person? I mean, pizza, obviously. Pizza's something, that's obviously something everybody eats.
There's some stuff that's better leftover. Most sort of, I don't know what, sort of a dish / casserole type things. Scalloped potatoes, casseroles,
anything
meatloaf.
where there's got multiple flavors that are enhanced when they are allowed to mingle further. Chili, soup.
Yeah.
The potato salad.
Yeah. I'm down for all that. You can put pizza in an air fryer for 2 minutes the next day, and it's brand new.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
No, I'm down with leftovers. There's certain things I'm not gonna. I'm like, Number one, any fast food, no leftovers.
Yeah, no.
None. I'm sorry. Even maybe Popeyes. I don't know that I would do leftover Popeyes.
Well, there's not gonna be leftovers.
Then that's true also. DJ Fluffy says, which friendo from the community would most likely have a 1,000-day reign as champion?
Sorry, I have an update on food tasting better warm. What were you saying?
DJ Fluffy says, which friendo from the community would most likely have a 1,000-day reign as champion?
Maggie. Maggie is our champion.
Maggie's our champion, but let's take the mods out of this because I don't want to try to play favorites here.
Cal? He's a wrestler.
You can't get. He's legit in any way, shape, or in every way, shape. or form.
I mean, he's a highly decorated amateur collegiate wrestler,
and he's a true friendo. He came up to me at a show, was like, "Hey, I'm a friendo." I'm like, "Fuck, you're big."
Yeah,
I was in NXT. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's why."
All right, Steve. Here's some science behind food tasting better warm. So scientists discovered that our ability to taste is heightened by microscopic proteins in our taste buds that are extremely temperature sensitive. These proteins, known as TRPM5 channels, perform far better at warm temperatures than at cooler ones. So if the food's warmer, it activates the protein you're tasting.
Okay, but hold on a second. I don't think that means it's exponential. The warmer it is, aka the hotter it is, the more those are activated. I need additional science on that.
Well, I mean, I think the science is room temperature or cold apple pie versus warm apple pie.
I'm not advocating for cold apple pie at all.
All right.
I'm saying warm is good. 30 minutes out of the oven is not going to make it cold. Maybe 15 minutes out of the oven and we're on the same page. But I think that there's also, you need to do some research on your pain receptors versus your taste receptors.
There's no pain involved. I get it warm, like molten hot.
Okay, bro. Warm and molten hot are two completely different things.
Yes, they are. Warm and molten hot are completely different things.
Yes. You said I get it warm, molten hot. You can't say that next to each other.
I
You get it molten hot.
Blow on it a little bit so I can actually eat it.
Okay, well, now you're bringing it down a notch.
Just so it's like I don't burn my mouth. But I know it's like, all right, I know. I get a sliced apple pie, put it in the microwave for like 45 seconds if it's not fresh out of the oven, until like, you know, the glaze or whatever starts oozing out of the pie.
Okay, well, you got to stop using the word molten. Molten is...
And then there's the glaze has to be bubbling a little bit.
Oh, that's going to hurt you, man. That's going to hurt you.
And then I cut it. I cut a piece off.
Yeah.
3 puffs, I'm good.
3 puffs?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Are you putting some like fire retardant in your mouth?
Nope.
Like Jack Perry when he put himself on fire that time?
Nope.
All right, man. Well, I don't know, dude. Maybe the powers of the yellow sun. Maybe you're Kryptonian.
I just feel like you should give it a try. Like really hot apple pie. Just give it a try.
Man, I'm gonna burn myself. You're just
three
trying
puffs,
to get me
you're
to
good.
burn myself.
Good. You blow it 3 times, they're fine.
Okay, we got to drop this. David Matuszek says,
Like a half-hour conversation about hot apple pie.
with Okada's first heel turn in decades already made, what kind of mannerisms would he take as a bad guy?
I just want to see him have fun. That's all I care about.
When Balloon
If he's having fun, it's
Okada
gonna
was
translate on
great
TV.
because it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Shatz Productions says, will we see Okada versus Omega in AEW? Seems to be that's what they're setting up. I like Kenny's Twitter reaction. It was just his face, doing that face, yeah.
Nikyle says, why is it that corrupt authority figures in wrestling storylines are so effective?
Oh, because we can all relate.
Yep.
We can all relate.
Yep.
Jonathan Vieira says, do you think Okada and Ospreay will cross paths by the end of the year?
Entirely possible. Entirely possible.
Yep. Another new question asker looks like Ty2595 says, does it feel like AEW is back, or will it sputter out after some time? I'm hoping it keeps the momentum. All you can do is hope, you know.
Yep.
Hopefully they keep the momentum, you know.
You know, if they got a series of shows that are consistently pretty solid,
Yeah.
and they're building up to interesting stories that are paid off in satisfying ways, then I guess then you can make the declaration that they're back.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
They have all the pieces.
Yeah, they do.
They got an absolutely loaded roster
They do.
across every division.
Yep.
They've got primetime cable broadcast spot for their flagship show, Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
They got, there's a lot you can criticize about Tony Khan. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's invested in building up the company to the best that he thinks it can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's passionate about his company.
Yep.
They got that. They got money. Like everything, it's all on him. It's all on Tony to put the pieces together in a way that is enjoyable for the audience they have, plus maybe find a way to draw in new viewers. So the product doesn't feel like it's stagnating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate... Oh, wait. We got cues. I got cues.